Chris Spicher. We're at Magnolia Cemetery, historic Magnolia Cemetery in Mobile, Alabama. We're at the Woodmen of the World gravesite. That's what the structure is behind me. But we're here to put flowers and headstones on some family graves from the 1870s and 80s, and I think 90s. So that's 120 something years ago. Never had a headstone. So my mom, Gloria, and I were here in Mobile to honor our ancestors. Check out the tour.
This week's tour is about the history of 19th century American history and the history of Mobile as it pertains to Magnolia. Last week we talked about burial customs and traditions, and we'll point out a few things again today on that. Next week our final tour is on the language of the stones and the mysterious symbolism found in them. I have to admit that this is my least favorite of the tours, mainly because there are lots of people here that know more about history, 19th century history especially, than I do. I'll try to be factual so they won't have to correct me too often.
That we just went to, Dr. Knott's two sons, J.D. and Henry. It has a beautiful notice. It is a consolation to those who mourn their loss and erect this monument, that they died in defense of liberty and left untarnished names.
Wow.
I used to, because I have a lot of distant relations buried here, and my grandmother's buried here, I've cleaned a lot of these stones.
Yeah.
Well, the day I was cleaning that one and read that quote was when I decided to join the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Because I had done reading. I've been reading here since I was 15, 52 years ago, and it was, I read The Red Badge of Courage leaning against one of these trees by my great-grandfather's, my great-great-grandfather's tomb.
Wow.
And I read it leaning, in those days this was like a jungle.
Yeah.
You actually, these paths, you were walking in a path.
These were walking paths.
They were walking paths, and I mean stuff was above. It was up here, growing all around here.
Oh my gosh.
There was very little open. And since that time I've been reading of this history and doing things in the cemetery. So really, it's something I really appreciate your being in the Friends of Magnolia Cemetery.
Yeah.
And her mother. But I wanted you to read the prose on the back of her mother's tombstone. This estimable lady and all the relations of life as daughter, wife, and mother was most exemplary and devoted. A companion and friend she was, so forth. I'm not going to read it out loud to you.
The light of the social circle and an ornament of her sex.
Oh my God.
Far too much money.
Charles Metzger, Theodosia Farr, Mary Kersley Farr, and John Farr.
And one of my favorite monuments in the cemetery, when his wife finally died, she died in New York. She was originally from New York. She was brought back here to be buried, and her four little angels were waiting for her.
So we're taking the cemetery tour in Mobile, Alabama. We've been walking out here in Magnolia Cemetery for an hour and a half. And in the same neighborhood now is the Muslim call to prayer in Mobile, Alabama. The world is changing, continues to change. It's Chris Spicher in Mobile, Alabama at Magnolia Cemetery taking the tour.